Welcome to the Cryptoteacher. And guys, you know I come back with that second video just to make you think. And this is on Ray Kurzweil. Of course, if you have my book, you know all about this. And if you have my book, you know I don't go over a lot of things in my book. Because of course I can't. They'd probably take my channel down if I was. But the fact is that basically dealing with nanotechnology, guys. Nanobots are coming and they're coming fast. And when I always talk about AI and robots, I know a lot of people, oh, it's not coming yet, it's not coming yet. No, it's here. It's already here, guys. And the fact is that cell phone that you use, you will no longer be using. And yes, Ray Kurzweil says 2030. Sometimes he says, transhumanism 2040. Guys, they've sped this up about 10, 15 years due to the C word. And what do they believe in? Never, ever let a great crisis go to waste. Because you can do things you thought you'd never been able to do. And with this cloud, guys, we always hear about cloud this and cloud that. And they're storing all of your information, guys. So therefore, when they do switch all this over to cloud, basically you'll be able to download everything to your brain in seconds. There will be no more cell phones. And if you don't believe me, watch this. Y'all have a wonderful day.
We will connect wirelessly our neocortex to the cloud.
This is with nanobots that
Exactly.
that enter your neocortex.
Right.
This is your prediction. For when? When is that? Just right now.
Well, June 2033.
Yeah. June 12th, 8:35 in the morning.
So we have 300 million modules in our neocortex, each of which can recognize a pattern. They're organized in this hierarchy. We create that hierarchy with our own thinking, but it's 300 million. So is that a big number or a little? Well, it was big enough for us to invent language and physics, but it's also limited when you realize how long it takes to read a book or learn a language. We will be able to expand that, and that expansion will not be a one-shot deal. It'll be connected to the cloud. The cloud is pure information technology. One of my themes is that information technology grows exponentially. It roughly doubles in power every year. That's what the cloud is doing. The cloud is twice as powerful every year. And when we can connect and expand our neocortex in the cloud, it will expand without limit. And so we'll be funnier, and we'll be sexier, and it'll be harder for you to win this prize again.
So just to clarify what I think you just said, that in 20 years, plus or minus, so the mid-2030s, we will have nanobots that we can feed into our brain that directly connect to the cloud rather than through anything we carry in our pocket. And in that way, wirelessly, we can basically download entire books, entire languages, and we will then know these things just by the act of downloading them.
Well, that's one implication.
Into our brains.
But we'll have more neocortex. So we won't be limited to a mere 300 million pattern modules. We'll have billions or 10 billion.
What, biologically, or just simply because we have these nanobots?
We'll have this extension that's non-biological.
Non-biological, right.
So I mean, this would be pretty useless if it didn't have an extension. I mean, when you access all of Google.
Yes, it would just be a gaming device otherwise, right.
You can access all of knowledge and.
No, I got that. So isn't this like the scene in The Matrix where they sit in the chair and they upload? One of my favorite lines of the film is Keanu Reeves. They teach him martial arts, and he says, "I know kung fu." And you mean I'm gonna know, or jujitsu, whatever. So in 20 seconds, he's now an expert. Are you telling me that's what's going to happen?
The non-biological portion of our thinking will be able to download skills, right?
Wow.
And it does that now. I mean, you load some software in your computer. It didn't. For example, speech recognition, which I worked on. We had to spend months teaching a computer how to understand human speech. But now you want to do that on your notebook computer, you just download the software. It can download skills that another computer learned. So that's a feature of non-biological intelligence.
For me, the entry point for artificial intelligence is movies. And I'm wondering if you think that there's a film out there that's got artificial intelligence right.
Most AI movies, futurist movies, show one AI that's fighting for domination against the humans, or it's one or two groups of humans fighting for control of the AI.
The war against the machines.
I would recommend that we put the unit back in operation and let it fail.
Her was actually a pretty good depiction because there wasn't one AI. Everybody had an AI. And that's what we see in the world today.
You're dating your computer?
She's not just a computer.
There's not one or two AIs. There's 1 or 2 billion. Every smartphone is an AI, and it's connected to the cloud, which can multiply its capabilities thousands or millions fold. Her is showing you what these devices will evolve into. They will be at human levels. We'll have relationships with them. Samantha was Theodore's assistant and helped him with information and his schedule, but it was also his companion.
I've never loved anyone the way I love you.
Me too.
That was a fairly realistic depiction, and the screenwriter and director said they based the movie on my ideas.
Within 15 years, he predicts all cars will be self-driving. Virtual reality will seem 100% real. More mind-boggling, by the 2030s, he predicts leaps in nanotechnologies. Microscopically small robots will eradicate all diseases.
Both biotechnology, which is reprogramming the information processes underlying biology, and nanotechnology, these medical nanorobots, will be able to address every disease and aging process. So as we get to the 2030s, and certainly by the time the 2030s are over, we'll have addressed virtually all disease and aging processes.
And then you go on further to say that by the 2040s, we'll be able to tap our own human consciousness into the cloud, correct?
One of the points I made is that technology is getting smaller and smaller at an exponential rate and increasing in price performance. So 25 years from now, computers will be 1 billion times more powerful per dollar. They'll be 100,000 times smaller. They'll be the size of blood cells. They can go inside the brain and connect the neocortex to the cloud wirelessly.
In other words, our brains converge with intelligent machines. The result, a colossal expansion of human intellect.
What are the advantages, from your perspective, of having this kind of superhuman intelligence?
Intelligence is the only thing that enables us to solve problems. Life expectancy was 19 1,000 years ago. Even just in recent years, a kid in Africa with a smartphone, which is very ubiquitous today, can access all of human knowledge with a few keystrokes. She's walking around with $1 trillion of computation and communication circa 1970, and they're using that to solve real problems. We still have problems today in the world, and the only way we're going to overcome disease and aging and poverty and environmental degradation is through greater intelligence.
What do you say to people that are concerned when they hear that computers might in a very near future trump human intelligence and develop consciousness? What do you say to assuage their concerns about a dystopian future?
Technology is a double-edged sword. Fire kept us warm and cooked our food, but also burned down our houses, and every technology has had dual uses for creativity and promoting our health, but also being destructive. These new technologies, similarly, can be destructive. We use technology to extend our reach, our physical reach, and then we leverage our muscles to create great structures. And today we can use these devices to access all of human knowledge. So we extend our reach physically and mentally with these technologies. That's what we're going to principally do with AI. But they could also be dangerous. Already AI is used in warfare, for example.
You think the future looks bright?
I think you have to be an optimist to be an entrepreneur. If you knew of all the problems that you'd face in a project, you'd probably never start anything. But I've also written extensively about how these technologies can be dangerous and abused, and what we need to do to keep them safe. And I think that's actually the biggest challenge for humanity in the 21st century. How do we reap the promise of artificial intelligence and biotechnology and so on, while controlling the peril? And I think we can do it, but not if we don't pay attention to the problem.
Ray Kurzweil, thanks very much for making the time.
My pleasure. But we're going to change that. We're going to reorganize the vast amount of computation in this rock to make it useful. And it won't just be raw computation. We'll infuse it with exquisitely intelligent software, vastly greater than our intelligence today, and with all the knowledge of the human-machine civilization. This rock is going to be 1 trillion times more powerful than all biological human brains today. This is going to be quite a valuable rock. We call matter and energy reorganized in this way computronium. We're going to reach these limits late in this century, and at that time, we're going to turn many of the rocks and other stuff suitable for computation into computronium. And so, to keep the expansion of our intelligence going, we will then need to spread out to the rest of the universe, turning some portion of it into computronium. How fast can we do this? That depends on whether or not we can transcend or otherwise get around the speed of light as a limit. There are suggestions that there may be subtle ways of doing this. One possibility is to send intelligent nanobots through wormholes, which are basically shortcuts to apparently faraway places through other spatial dimensions beyond the 3 we're familiar with. Wormholes through space appear to be consistent with our understanding of physics. If it is indeed feasible to either find or build such wormholes, our intelligence will be so great that we'll be capable of engineering these shortcuts to reach other parts of the universe in brief periods of time. In that case, we could infuse the universe with our intelligence rather quickly. It would require only another century, that is by the end of the 22nd century, to saturate the universe with computronium. On the other hand, if we can't get around the speed of light, it'll take a lot longer. But in either case, expanding our intelligence throughout the universe is our ultimate destiny. Cosmologists today argue about whether the universe will die in fire or ice. Fire means a big hot crunch, basically the opposite of the Big Bang. Ice means stars flying apart, eventually dying out. Both of these views of cosmology assume that intelligence has nothing to do with it, that intelligence is just a bit of entertaining froth that dances in and out of the dumb celestial forces that rule the universe. But this perspective ignores the law of accelerating returns. As a result of the exponential expansion of our knowledge and skill, the universe will ultimately be infused with computronium and with the vast intelligence of our human-machine civilization. So the universe will wake up, and we will intelligently decide its fate.